Hello and welcome to this Magna-Matic Tip of the Week video where we will be servicing a set of Grasshopper blades, and we will be using the MAG-8100 to do that service. When evaluating the set of 3 blades I have here in front of me, one stands out here. This blade has relatively little resharpenable material left. So one of the determinations for seeing if a blade is serviceable after we've cleaned it, checked for fractures, checked the straightness, and all those qualifiers have been met, we now look at how much resharpenable material we have left. And that is determined by at what point we're going to be grinding into the lift bend. And on this blade, you can see there is very little material to the lift bend. There is a little flat underside left to grind back upon. This blade, we can probably get one last sharpening out of it, but after this sharpening, this blade will be finished. Just for your information, I'm taking our angle gauge here and quickly checking the angle of the blades, and they are all already at 30, so that will be perfect for the use with the MAG-8100. The MAG-8100 sharpener behind me here only sharpens at 30 degrees. Any other angle you can get to, however, you can't dial it into the machine. So when the wheel is lowered to the work table where it almost contacts this corner, about a space of a business card to fit in there or a piece of paper, that will consistently cut 30 degrees. So these are the perfect blades for that, as well as they all have flat, straight cutting edges. Now, just for our own information, let's take a look. And they are 1/4 inch thick blades, so they are nice, heavy commercial blades. And you may also notice that the customer that dropped these blades off has already cleaned the blades for us, so we won't need to use the MAG 12008 blade cleaner since they've already been scraped and are free from any material. So they are very easy to inspect for any fractures. So let's get started with the 8100, and we will start putting a new edge on. When you watch me grind, you will see I will first blunt the edge. I'm doing that to give us a reference point to see where our pointed corner is again, because we're trying to achieve, when we grind a mower blade, a sharp mower blade has a pointed corner. It doesn't matter how razor sharp this edge is, it is important if the tip or the pointed corner is very pointed, that is our cutting tooth. So we are trying to recreate that. So I will first face grind this a little bit, getting our visual reference back to where that pointed corner is, then place it on the work table, grinding back and forth to achieve our edge again. that completes the sharpening and balancing service for these 3 Grasshopper blades. Here we have the set of blades, and you can see in this blade what we were talking about earlier, that the grinding we had to do really started getting up into the lift bend, whereas this is really the last sharpening, and we're even pushing it with this blade to get a pointed corner back so we have that tooth of the mower blade. You'll also notice, like when I move this in the light here, you'll see a little bit different finish because I always did the balance correction on the inside of the cutting edge, staying away from the tip, because the first 2 inches, this area of the blade, we want to remove as little material as we have to during sharpening so that we make the blade last longer. So you'll always see me do balance corrections on the inside of the cutting edge, which will give you a little bit different finish because I didn't grind the tip again. I only ground in here for that balance correction, whereas the other side of the blade has one nice even finish across the whole length of the cutting edge to the tip. This blade we spoke about that was really at the end of its life is also another good example of that a blade over its life, the cutting edge will become tapered. From the overhead view that we're looking at it now, this blade edge will always become tapered because the wear from cutting the grass happens at the tip. The tip becomes rounded. That means it's a dull mower blade. And then we grind at the tip to push the cutting edge back so a new pointed corner emerges again. That is the function of resharpening a lawnmower blade, getting our pointed tooth back. And what that does over time is it creates this tapered look. You do not have to push the leading edge of the cutting edge back square to the original width of the blade. So there's no need to cut back this far and make this edge straight, because it is the tip that is cutting the grass, and that is what the grass interacts with first. It is not sliding along this edge. Also, from a safety standpoint, you do not want to grind this back square because you get dangerously close to creating a fracture point, especially on this blade that has this notch removed to bend the lift high. Also on other blades that can sometimes get close to a mounting hole or other different features in the blade. So leaving as much material as we can on the blade, not grinding this back square just for some visual sake, is the safest and best way to service a mower blade. Whereas you can see on these where they have more material left, they look more square to the original body only because there's a lot more material left here. You're getting that visual look. Whereas this blade being at the end of its life, it is much more obvious that taper that happens. But again, no matter what, we are seeking a pointed corner on the end of the blade because that is the cutting tooth. Well, I certainly hope you enjoyed that demonstration of the MAG-8100 on these Grasshopper blades. And again, to review, these were flat, straight cutting edges at 30 degrees, which is exactly what the MAG-8100 is designed for. That is the limitation of the 8100 versus an 8200. Again, the 8100 can only do flat, straight cutting edges and cut a 30-degree angle, or I should say dial in to give you a 30-degree angle, whereas the 8200 can do multiple angles and multiple types of blades, such as wavy, curvy mulching blades when you outfit it with the modular work table option. And also, just to give you some background, we were using the 9000-23 soft grinding wheel in the 8100. That's what comes with the machine when you purchase one, which is also similar if you were used to our older model, the MAG-9000. The 8100 takes the MAG-9000's place in our model lineup, and they both use the same grinding wheel and have that same feature set of a consistent 30-degree angle over the life of the grinding wheel, as well as only doing straight, flat cutting edges. So if you're interested in picking up a MAG-8100 for yourself, you can head on over to Magna-Matic.com and check out all the options there. The 8100 is offered in a 3rd horse motor for prosumers and very light use. This one here is the half-horse totally enclosed fan-cooled motor, which we recommend more for commercial applications. And we also have various workstation loadouts with or without our dust collector for the 8100. Thank you very much for watching, and check everything out at Magna-Matic.com.